Well, hi, my name is Sherm Cohen, and I'm one of the storyboard artists on the SpongeBob SquarePants show. We're here today to show you a segment called How to Draw SpongeBob SquarePants and His Underwater Buddies. There are a few things that you're going to need for this activity, and that is paper, and a pencil, and an eraser. And if you'd like, you can also use colored pencils or some markers. It's all up to you. I'm going to show you how to draw each of the main characters one by one from start to finish, and we'll end up with some nice finished drawings. And I just want to let you know that if your drawings don't look like mine right away, well, that's okay. I've had a lot of practice on this show. When you're drawing for television, we have to draw the character over and over and over, and we all had a hard time at first. But I know if you keep at it, you'll do just fine. So, grab your pencil, grab your paper. Are you ready, kids? Let's draw SpongeBob and his underwater buddies. And now we're going to draw SpongeBob SquarePants.
This is gonna be great!
So we start with a basically square shape with a slight bit of a tilt to it. And that's to give him a little bit of life so that he's not so perfectly rigid. And I've drawn the side here, and his pants are are roughly square shaped or rectangular. And that's how he got his name, SpongeBob SquarePants. I like to leave enough room on the paper to make sure that I can get his head and his legs and his arms all in. I'm just going to rough in some of the basic shapes here, which are square, these little cylinders for his legs, and a little bean shape for his feet. When it comes to his face, I like to very lightly draw in some center lines just so I can make sure to put the face in the right place. SpongeBob has two big eyes that sit right on top of that center line. His nose comes like a finger right out of the middle of his face. His pupils then are thrown in, and his cheek sits right underneath his eye there. And we'll draw a nice big smile that connects right up to that cheek. And his two big teeth also come right along that center line. Give him a nice happy mouth and a big fat tongue that lies at the base of his mouth. And for his eyelashes, which are a very important feature, he's got 3 on each eye.
Weren't you that guy on TV? Yes, I am that guy.
And also for his clothing, now along this center line, I'm going to draw his tie and his collar. And this is the line where his shirt meets his pants. Bring that along the side. And his belt shows through his belt loops. There's 3 of those, and one of them runs right underneath the tie. Now along the side, he's got a short sleeve shirt, so I'll draw that arm in right about where his head meets his shirt. A little bell-shaped, cup-shaped object. His hand comes down, and it falls right about at the base of his pants. Now, just like all respectable cartoon characters, SpongeBob's got 3 fingers and a thumb. And that was a tradition that started long ago just because hands are very expressive and it's important to make them as simple so they communicate as good as possible. Now, as far as SpongeBob's ridges on his head, he's got a very distinct pattern of ridges on the top and the sides and on the base. There's 4 on the top, 4 on the sides, and 3 on the bottom. And I'll show you how I draw those.
Well then, I guess it's time to take it up a notch.
So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 to the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4 to the bottom. 1, 2, 3, and 4, but I'm not going to draw through the arm. And then on the side, there's just 1 ridge to connect the front to the side. He's also got his sponge holes, and we have to remember where to put them every time we draw him. So my secret to remembering where to put these holes is I always start in the upper right-hand corner where he has 1 small hole. And then going around his face, it alternates from small, big, and small, to small, and big, and small. On the side, he's got 4 holes, 1 big, 1 small, 1 big, and 1 small. And when we come down to his socks, I'm going to draw the line where his sock meets his leg, and then 2 stripes on each sock. So there's the sock itself and 2 stripes. His shoes, I'm going to finish up right now. You've got a little bean shape in the front and a little hard heel at the back. So there's a bean shape for his foot and a hard heel. And now I'm going to draw his pant cuffs in. He wears shorts. And as you can see, there's a lot of lines that are drawn through this whole thing. Got my eraser handy to go through later on and take those out. So SpongeBob's going to wave at us here. We'll bring his arm up. And draw 3 fingers on each hand again. And there he is. And we just take your eraser and do a little cleanup.
Ta-da! Not bad, partner in crime.
And after some last details, there's our final drawing. Now I'd like to show you how to draw SpongeBob's best friend, Patrick Star.
Who, me?
Patrick has a shape that's basically a big teardrop shape, which is sort of like a sphere with a cone sitting on top. After I've drawn this shape in, I'll usually draw his pants, so I know where to divide his top from his bottom. And I'm going to use the eraser to rub down, clean up some of this construction drawings. Patrick has 2 big eyes near the top of his head and big bushy eyebrows. Got a little bit of a cone head on top, but that's because the starfish has got 5 points, and one of them is his head, and the others are his arms and his legs. Patrick's arms are pretty simple, just like a regular starfish that you'll see in the tide pools. He doesn't have any fingers or thumbs, but we take a lot of liberty with the way we draw sea creatures in this show. Let's give Patrick a big 2 stumpy feet and a big pair of shorts that he wears over that. Let's give Patrick a big smile. He's usually in a pretty good mood. And Patrick's got some dots on him to give him some texture. He's got 3 on the front. He's got 2 on his arm. He's got 2 on his head. And he's got 2 on this arm. And finally, just 1 more for his feet. I'm also going to draw in the little flower pattern that he has on his pants. It's sort of a Hawaiian print. A lot of the design ideas that are in this show come from Hawaiian style clothing. And we're going to continue to clean this up a bit.
I love you.
And after we've done all the final cleanup with our eraser, here's Patrick. Well, now I'd like to show you how to draw SpongeBob's boss, Mr. Krabs.
Let's give Mr. Krabs a big hand.
Mr. Krabs is based on a shape that's like a triangle or a cone. I also think of him as being the shape of a buoy in the water. Start off with this shape. We're going to add his eyes and his first. His eyes make Mr. Krabs one of the most difficult characters to draw because they take up so much space that sometimes we run out of room before we can draw all of his eyes in. So he has 2 big eyes, just like a real crab does. He's got a wiggly nose that fits in right in between those eyes. Now I'm going to draw a center line to show where his pants go. Mr. Krabs has 2 little peg legs at the bottom, kind of like a pirate. He's been designed after a classical idea of a pirate.
Look at me, I'm Errol Finn.
And his arms start right about where his shirt meets. They're little thin arms, but he has really big claws. There's a thumb and the rest of his hand. I'll show you that again. His arm comes out. Now his claw comes out with his fingers, so to speak, and his thumb. Then I'll go back in there and draw little points on the end of those. Since they're hard and shiny, they've got a little reflection on them. And for his eyes, he has big, long pupils and little soft eyelashes up at the top of each eye. Mr. Krabs is usually in a pretty good mood, except when no one is coming into the Krusty Krab, but for right now, he's had a good day. On his back are 3 ridges, just to show his rough, crab-like exterior. And I'm going to draw a shirt collar here, and then a line for his pants, and a big belt buckle right in the middle. And his belt comes around the side, and he's got belt loops, just like you and I do. There's Mr. Krabs, and we're going to take our eraser, go in and clean up some of those construction lines.
Oh, well, you're beautiful.
And after he's all cleaned up, Mr. Krabs looks like this. Well, now I'd like to show you how to draw SpongeBob's neighbor, Squidward.
Watch and learn.
Squidward's head is based on a egg shape. It's got a big egg-shaped head, followed by a generally cylinder-shaped body. Squidward's eyes rest near the bottom of that big egg-shaped, and his nose is quite big. It's a little bit bigger than his eyes, and his pupils are rectangular shaped. He's got 3 ridges on his brow. He's usually in a pretty grumpy mood, so we'll give him a little bit of a scowl here for his mouth. And there's a little line that connects his head to his mouth, and sometimes his mouth can be seen from the other side. Squidward's neck comes next, followed by his chest, and then big long legs that come out of the bottom. Since Squidward is a octopus, he's got a whole bunch of legs. Originally, I thought Squidward was a squid, but Steve Hillenburg, the creator of the show, insists that he's an octopus, so we'll go with that. All right, Squidward has a collared shirt that he wears all the time, and his feet come out like this, and they have little suckers on the end of it. So we've got a total of 6 limbs, which is how many legs a squid has. All right, we can just clean up some of this with your eraser.
Fascinating.
Now, sometimes Squidward can be happy, and I want to show you that there are other expressions we can use for Squidward. When he's happy, the lines on his face will be pointing upward. And we'll put a big smile on his face. That's pretty unusual for Squidward, but we like to think that every once in a while he can give us a big smile. If his mouth is open, we'll draw a tongue on the inside there, and you can shade in the mouth with your pencil. So Squidward has his good days just like all of us should. He's also got 8 dots on the top of his head. And again, suckers on the inside of his hands and feet.
That was actually kind of exciting.
All right, now that we've finished, Squidward is all done. Now I'd like to show you how to draw SpongeBob's squirrel friend, Sandy.
Back in Texas, we call ice cream frozen cow juice.
Sandy can be one of the most difficult characters to draw because their shapes are a little bit complicated. We'll try to break it down. We usually draw a big circle for her undersea helmet and then a cylinder for her undersea pressure suit. Then I'll draw her legs underneath. And very softly, I'm going to draw in her boots, and I'll come back and tighten those up later. Sandy is dressed in a big pressure suit because she's a squirrel from the surface. And these are the sleeves to her pressure suit. And she's got big mitten-like gloves on. Draw her other arm down here with another glove. And there's 3 stripes on each one of her sleeves. Got a big metal collar that goes around her pressure suit, and there's 5 little rivets that keep it sealed on there. And since she's not a normal sea creature, if she doesn't wear this suit underwater, she's going to be in big trouble.
We gotta try something else.
Now, one of the tips that I tell people for Sandy is that even though she has this really big helmet, her eyes come to about the halfway point. And that's usually where I'll start. Draw her eyes there and some eyelashes. And before I get too far along, make sure I draw in her big squirrel cheeks and her head, and her ears are like a little soft triangle on each side. She has another triangle shape for her nose and one big set of teeth right in the middle. You'll notice that this tooth only is split halfway down, and that's because her 2 top teeth are so close together that they become pressed together at the very base. Alright, draw her neck in, and Sandy has a nice pretty flower on the outside of her glass helmet. And so that everybody's going to know that it's glass, we put a little reflection on it as well. She's got a zipper on the front so she can get in and out of her spacesuit when she goes into her pressurized tree dome. And this is her little insignia on the pocket. Since she's a squirrel, it's a little nut. Now we go down to her legs. She's got big fat boots, part of her pressure suit. And each boot has a little circle design on the side. And a big thick sole on the bottom. And one of the most important things about Sandy is to remember to give her a squirrel tail. At the beginning, when we started drawing her, people thought that she was a bear because she doesn't look very much like a squirrel in that suit.
That's crazy talk.
So we made sure that in the back, we draw a big fuzzy tail that kind of pokes out from the rear. And now that I've touched up the drawing, here's our picture of Sandy. Now I'd like to show you how to draw Plankton, who's the smallest member of our show.
Oh, goody!
Plankton is shaped like a sausage or a little pill. He's very simple in his shape. The way I make sure to keep all his features in the right place is to draw this main shape, very lightly draw a center line, because that's about where his mouth is going to come. He's got one big eye and one big pupil. One of his chief characteristics is one big eyebrow. It's usually looking pretty evil at the top of his head. His mouth is usually in a frown of some sort. And he's not very happy because he's not selling very many burgers over at the Chum Bucket. He's got 2 antennae, and each one of them has these 4 little ticks that we draw in the upper half of the antenna. Plankton has 2 little arms that start just below his mouth. We usually don't draw any fingers on Plankton either.
I never thought I'd get this far.
And he's got 2 little stumpy legs at the bottom. Now, plankton usually will be drawn very small, so I'm used to drawing him about this size. And one of the secrets to plankton is on his eyebrow. There's 3 corners on the left side of the eyebrow and 2 corners on the right. That's pretty advanced stuff, but if you want to draw plankton right and you don't want to get him angry, make sure to give him the right eyebrows. And sometimes plankton has an evil smile on his face. He's usually up to no good. His main purpose in life is to steal the recipe of Mr. Krabs' Krabby Patty. So he's always got some sinister plan up his sleeve.
Glad that's over.
After filling in all the details, there's the finished plankton drawing.
Hi, my name's Kenny Pittenger, and I'm the background layout supervisor on SpongeBob SquarePants. So, what I'm going to do today is show you how to draw some of the backgrounds for SpongeBob SquarePants, which is pretty much anything you see on the screen that doesn't move.
What do we do first?
What I'm going to do today is first show you some of the plant life. We call it plant life, but really, a lot of these things are animals. But I'm going to show you how to draw each of these so that you'll be able to place them in the scene anytime you draw anything in Bikini Bottom, because these are always nice little things to have in the shot. I'm going to start off with a certain kind of coral, which is, I think, called a barrel coral or something like that. So what I'm doing is I'm drawing these 3 kind of curved triangles. See what I mean here? Triangle. Lightly drawing those in. And what I'm going to do then is draw on top of each one what's called an ellipse. Now, an ellipse is basically a circle, like so, that someone sat on and flattened out. So that's a good way to remember it. So you're drawing these ellipses on top of these triangles, like so, very lightly. Oh, I should tell you why I'm holding the pencil aside like this. It's so I can get these nice thick lines and also thin lines. See what I'll show you here. Like, start with a thick line and then go to a thin line if you want. It's kind of nice. That's called line quality. And that just kind of makes the shape itself more interesting, and it's kind of a fun way to draw. So, and it also keeps your arm moving, which is important.
I'm learning!
So, keep your arm moving, sketching them in. And then inside each one, draw another ellipse, a little smaller, very lightly again. And then what I'm going to do next, like I did over here, is go over it darker. So just more pressure, push down on the pencil more. Follow those lines you laid down at the beginning. Don't connect them here. And then also this ellipse right here. And I'm going to do the same thing on all 3 of them. You can be really loose. You don't have to draw very straight lines. In fact, the backgrounds on SpongeBob are kind of special that way. They're very wobbly lines, very loose, so you can have fun and don't worry about getting them perfect. And then on the bottom, draw these little pointy roots. And that's what they stick to the rocks with. Okay, and up here, same thing, ellipse. And then, the fun part, do just circles. Draw all these polka dots on them. It's almost like a circus or something. And then also these holes on top, just darken those in a little bit too. And it looks like you've got one of these coral things.
Yes, excellent!
Next one I'm going to show you is called a staghorn coral. I know the name of that one. What you're going to do is just draw these lines kind of like just, anything you want, almost like a tree or like lightning in reverse. And so what you're going to do then, this is pretty easy, you just go around each line like this with the same kind of thick and thin quality that we were talking about. And so you're drawing just these kind of blobby, almost like cactus shapes. So inside each one of these things, we're going to draw these little star shapes like this. Simple. Just draw these all over it.
This one's gonna fly!
And next, the only one in this group that actually is a plant is grass, seagrass. And you just draw like a wavy line, like a snake, and then just draw over it again. You can crisscross wherever you want. You don't have to crisscross every time, but when you do, it kind of makes it look like it's twisting. And you can draw 2 of those, 3 of those. They're usually together in a clump. Also, you see these a lot. They're called sea anemones, and they're actually animals too. What you're going to do here with this is draw first a shape like this, which is a trapezoid. It's like a square, but it kind of narrows up towards the top. It's not quite a triangle and not quite a square, somewhere in between. And then on the top of that, we're going to do our ellipse again. So just draw your ellipse very lightly. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is very carefully draw 5 arms. And these are how the anemone brings food into its mouth. And here's its mouth right here. To draw the mouth, you can just draw a little star shape like you did before over here. So there, sea anemone, and usually we find those all together. So you'll just draw a few of them, you know, and do the same steps I showed you before. And finally, last but not least, the smallest of them all is the sea urchin. Draw a circle, color it in, nice and dark. And then what you're going to do is draw another one of these star shapes right through it, like this.
Oh!
There you go, sea urchin. That's the easiest one to draw.